My oh my, does the plot thicken? What's up guys, I got Pencil here, and here we want to do a breakdown and discussion of the spoilers for chapter 257 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as the decisive battle of the Unheavenly Demon infested Shinjuku part 29? I think 29? We aren't at 30 yet. I don't think we're at 30. I think 30's next chapter. I think it's 258. It's going to be 30. But ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you the plot thickens, double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon, the plot thickens. God, we got a whole lot. Help me. We got a whole lot to talk about. So let's not waste any more time. And let's hop right into it. Editing me. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up guys, that guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact. Alright, we gotta address it. Straight up, straightforward. In the earlier spoiler discussion I made, right as the leaks dropped, there was a rough translation that said that Sukuna and Yuji were twins. Alright. And notably, I know people who had theorized that. I've known other content creators who had theorized that. I had thought about it, but I wasn't necessarily for or against it. I was kind of like, whatever. It'd be what it'd be like, especially when it'd be like that. But that was wrong. At least, once again, we'll wait until the translations come out and the chapter's fully cleaned up and everything. And obviously, we'll wait for officials, question mark, exclamation point. But no, in fact, Yuji and Sukuna are not incarnated twins where one lived and the other didn't. Sukuna is Yuji's uncle, who ate the original Jin Itadori when they were inside their mama. Unc Sukuna. Here's the thing. I'm not sure. I'm trying to this crazy thing is, the craziest thing is, this actually makes more sense to me, despite making less sense to me. This raises infinitely more questions. Alright? Okay, to be fair, there are a couple questions raised from round start. But like, Sukuna being that mean uncle who doesn't like anybody except for the one person they're cool with, and they just come to the cookout to eat, grab a plate, and leave. If that ain't the most accurate interpretation or matching the character, I don't know what is. Admittedly, I never had mean uncles, but I've heard the stories that I'm uncles. Typically, even the uncles that did just come to the cookout to grab a plate and dip, they were a little bit kind, they were a little bit clean, they were a little bit not too mean, but Sukuna being Yuji's ungodly. But here, okay. So, naturally, like I said, there are questions raised by this immediately. First things first, I do... Like, in context, I get why we're dropping this now. Because, like, we have Yuji and Sukuna in a 1v1. We're finally addressing it. This seems to be Yuji's moment to shine and pop off and go crazy, go stupid. But, like, why did Sukuna just randomly say this to her roommate? Like, they're just chilling. And, oh, you know what? See, there are some things. There are some weird things. There are some definite weird things. I did just want to, let me see, my brain is going a mile a minute. And once again, this will all be cleaned up a bit more. Once again, once the chapter's actually clean. And once we have translations, and we get to see more and more. But, like, biggest question off the top of my domer. Why did this moment happen then? Notably, in both TCBs and official translations, Sukuna says Yuji is that guy from back then. Was he getting him confused for Jin? I guess that's entirely possible. Notably, I mean, to be fair, I actually came out looking more like my mom than my dad. But, like, I'm basically a carbon copy of my mom. Except, obviously, I'm male. So, like, I guess there's the difference there. Like, hypothetically, if I was my mom's daughter and I came out looking exactly like her, then people may get us confused. So maybe that was it. But this is a moment that's explicitly referenced. And if you remember all the way back into 13 to 14, whenever this moment occurs, he very specifically recognizes Yuji as someone from back then. But if Yuji's not actually from back then and is the son of Jin, who was reincarnated into the modern era, and then Kenjaku, I don't get why that comment was made in particular. I don't know. It seems a little bit strange. Next thing, I guess because maybe they loosely looked alike, but why does Sukuna know what Jin looked like? Like, notably, once again, based on the super rough translations that, once again, will be cleared up in a bit, Sukuna ate Jin. Not, like, later in life, like a lot of people are theorizing. A big thing about twin theory, a lot of people believe that Sukuna's four-armed, two-faced evolution came from him consuming his brother later in life. Kind of like a more twisted version of what happened with Maki and Mai, where they were twins, and since they both existed at the same time, they actually ended up hindering each other, where hypothetically if Maki were to have perished, then presumably Mai would get like a crazy amount of cursed energy and be able to use creation a lot more efficiently. But we got it where Mai sacrificed herself for Maki, and Maki ended up waking into a full heavenly restriction. So a lot of people, when the initial theories of Sukuna and Yuji being twins or anything like that came out, a lot of people assumed that Sukuna, in order to overcome that gap in a similar vein to Maki and Mai, just ate their brother. But now, with it being confirmed, once again loosely, that Sukuna nibbled on Jin when he was inside their mama, why does he know what Jin looks like? I guess because they're meant to be twins, so he just sees what looks like a reflection of Jin in himself. I don't know, that seems weird. That he just actively knows what his brother would have looked like. I guess they were legit identical twins, I suppose. Once again, I don't know. You can be fraternal or identical and born at the exact same time. It varies. But that's interesting. That's interesting. Another thing this does confirm, reincarnation in JJK. It's been hinted at, kind of, sorta. Like, we've seen people stop from reaching the cycle of reincarnation or stop from reaching the afterlife. Like, Yuta explicitly does that with Rika in Volume 0, where he's like, no, Rika, don't leave. And thusly, her soul was trapped in the husk for the next 10 years. And then when Yuta finally let her go, she actually got let go. To where? We don't know. The airport? I guess. But this is the first time we're having a confirmed reincarnation cycle, not a secondary incarnation cycle. Because we've technically seen the latter. We've seen multiple characters incarnate. Urume's an incarnate. Sukuna's an incarnate. Reggie, Kashimo, Ryu, Earl, all the Killing Game players are technically in their second incarnation. Because they first incarnated in their original lives, their original bodies and stuff like that, and then they were turned into cursed objects and then reincarnated by Kenjaku. But this reincarnation, at least from my understanding, it seems organic. Like, it seems like Jin just appeared. But at the same time, naturally, another question upon a question upon a question is raised. This is obviously Kenny's doing. But how, though? How did Kenny know? Was Kenny looking for it? And how did that transpire? Like, notably, if Jin truly is the reincarnation of the twin that Sukuna nibbled on while they were in their mama, how did Sukuna get access to that? Or no, how did Kenny get access to that? How did he even recognize the soul? Was Kenny the mom? Like, once again, this opens the door. This slams the door open for Kenny stuff. But, like, what exactly is the means and metrics and the function? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did Kenny know, for one, that was Sukuna's brother's soul? How did Kenny know to find that? And how did Kenny know that by, with that, you would get a super strong vessel, kind of, sort of thing? I don't know. I truly don't. And another question, why wasn't Jin used as the vessel? Because if Jin truly is literally Sukuna's biological equivalent, which is what this chapter goes on to imply, and it's what Urume ends up later implying about Sukuna and Yuji possibly having mirroring potential, then why not just use Jin? Why go through the process of having Jin have a kid? I don't know. It seems really, really weird. Once again, this has done two things, ironically enough. It's answered a bunch of questions, it's taken a blade and cleaved through a whole bunch of theories. But at the same time, this opened so many more questions about Kenny, their motives, what Sukuna was like, the whole background. Like, who was their mama? We don't know that. But now we know that Sukuna wasn't this, like, random, naturally occurring thing. Well, no, that's the thing. Maybe he was. But based on the whole consumption, the double face, the double arms, and all the stuff like that, it seems like Sukuna was kind of an experiment. And what did Sukuna do? He assumed his twin. He merged with his twin. And then came out bearing two faces, two arms, and two mouths, and extreme propensity for sorcery. So Kenny was clearly involved in that, right? I don't know. Once again, I'm going to go more in depth with this once the translations are out and I have a more general idea. But those are just some of the ideas that have been bouncing around my skull with the confirmation that Jin Itadori is the reincarnated sibling of Ryomen Sukuna that was consumed when they were in their mama. Once again, I'm not sure. I'll have to check the translations once they come out. But maybe I'm wrong on the idea that Jin was a natural reincarnation. Maybe he was also a forced incarnation. But then, like, Wasuke Itadori seemed to not think that. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Once again, I think Kenny's sticky fingers are all over this. And I've mentioned it in multiple videos, but I think now, of all times, I do have to finally make that theory. I'm personally in the camp that Kenny is responsible for Sukuna. Kenny's a lot older than Sukuna, a lot older than Arame, a lot older... Arame or Ume, whatever, but a lot older than a lot of the characters seem to believe. I personally interpret Druve and his whole incarnation thing as Kenny was around then to make the offer to Druve to join the Culling Games, because how else would Druve agree to it? I know, second incarnation stuff, but regardless, there are doors opened, doors closed, doors held slightly ajar. I don't know. Things just got infinitely more complicated, but hey, I'm down with that, because this is one of the biggest reveals that JJK could offer us, which is why it's kind of crazy that it comes off so, like, blase. Like, I don't know. Once again, we lose our minds because this is the opening of a chapter after a week break, but, like, we just open up a page with this fact, this knowledge, and just be like that when it be like that, especially when it be like that, so... But naturally, Urume does the natural leap and assumption, like, huh, so if that brat is the child of the King of Curses' twin brother, does that mean he has rivaling potential? Which, and notably, I think a lot of people get on Yuji's case about this, like, oh, he's just turning into Ichigo. What's wrong with Ichigo? Oh, do you know JJK is inspired by Bleach, huh? What's wrong with Ichigo? But nah, at the same time, a lot of people kind of don't like that Yuji is ending up as a sort of, like, child of destiny, child of prophecy, the culmination of all culminations, a whole bunch of genetics and stuff like that. But, like, for everyone who is disappointed with that, I get it if you don't like how specific it's gotten. Like, he's Sukuna's nephew, and Kenny's child, and so on and so on and so on. But, like, y'all, Yuji has not been normal since chapter 1. He's been destined for, if not greatness, destined for something for a minute now. So don't get me wrong, there are definitely some critiques that I have of this chapter that I'm going to get into in a little bit. But in terms of the whole Yuji being the child of destiny, inheriting all these crazy genes from his father, which was an incarnation of the brother to the King of Curses, like, notably, I don't necessarily find issue with that. I think it's fine. In fact, I think it makes more sense. Because once again, JJK in particular is a story about bloodlines. With rare exception, the strongest characters in the verse have some sort of tie to very major bloodlines. Look at Yuta Okotsu and his ties to this Gojo clan. Look at Satoru Gojo, the descendant of the Gojo clan, who was tied into the Eyes of Fate and everything. Sorry. Sorry, something that. But we play all that. Where was that? Gojo, Eyes of Fate, tied to the Gojo clan. Not Sukuna. I mean, Sukuna's kind of an anomaly, but once again, I do think that's actually Kenny's thing. And should I go into that now a little bit? That's the thing. There's so many things I want to say for the review because I'm not sure if they're actually valid based on the weak random translations I have. I can't say weak or random. I can't read Japanese. The fantastic translations I have so far. But essentially, let's just run it down real quick. The whole idea of JJK is built on the idea that in order to become powerful, in order to be one of the strongest, you need to come from somewhere. So Yuji Itadori coming from somewhere, like Yuta Okotsu came from somewhere, like Gojo Santoro came from somewhere, like Megami came from somewhere, like almost every other character in the series came from somewhere. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's okay. It makes sense. The only character who's in the top 5 of the verse that seemingly came out of nowhere is Sukuna himself and Kashimo Hajime, who, while a lot of people theorize he's part of a specific bloodline, a lot of people see him as like a hypothetical Gojo clan member based on like how his, I was about to say quirk, oh lord, how his CT relates to a lot of like bioorganic functions and aspects of the world like electricity. A lot of people think he's like an offshoot of the Gojo clan, and hey, I'm fine with that. But he does have a last name, so like I don't know. I'm iffy on him being part of the Gojo clan. But regardless, he's the only one. Yuta, specific path of power. Sukuna, I'm leaning towards the fact that he's an experiment of some kind too. Gojo, obviously Gojo. Now Yuji, if you think he's top 5. Notably, I'm gonna go more into my thoughts on the scaling implications of this chapter, because while on a first reread I was just straight hyped, my brain started braining. And I don't like to think too much, because when I do, my brain starts steaming. But regardless, putting the steam brain aside, there are many things more to talk about so far. But first things first, another big confirmation. We finally get a lock-in on Shrine being the name of Sukuna's technique. Now, if you've been paying, I'm not going to say paying attention, but if you've been, well, no. If you're an active part of the JJK community, you've come to the consensus that Sukuna's technique has long since been called Shrine, all the way back to when Yorozu name dropped it. But me and many others had like skepticism about that. But now it appears that Shrine just truly is the name of Sukuna's technique, which kind of makes his domain expansion funny, because it's just like adjective technique name. Like, okay, I guess, bro. You can come with anything better than that. But with that being the case, Yuji Tadori has locked in. And one thing I will admit, despite all the explanations and how much becomes clearer from Yuji's appearance to his potential to his physical strength to the mystery of his bloodline to why Kenjaku was interested in his bloodline, all that, despite all that being answered, we still, in this very chapter, do not have an explanation for his arms. That's still a complete... Gege just... I'm not even saying they're dancing around at this point. They're explicitly just avoiding it. I don't know what it is. These arms, which have been pivotal to the battle with Sukuna so far, one, obviously because of the soul punching thing, and two, because of, claws, and they seem to be entirely immune to cleave and dismantle. We have yet to get an explanation about that. That's not a Sukuna thing. Sukuna doesn't have claws, even in his true form. He doesn't have these weird elbow spikes in his true form, or like the weird fleshy nature of the rest of the arms in his true form. And Choso never showed that. Kamo never showed that. No previous Kamo clan member. Like, I don't know. Is it from Kaori's side of the family? Speaking of which, where did Kaori come from? But all that aside, I don't know. That's still a very interesting point in this chapter that kind of, because of how much we did get and how big of what we did get, I've seen kind of slide under the rug. But no, we still don't have an explanation about that. I'm not mad at it. Once again, I do think that something's going to happen. I don't think Sukuna's either A, losing, or the series is ending within the next 5 chapters. Something's going to happen. I'll talk about that more later, but something's going to happen. But I think these arms still have a bigger role to play. Them just being immune to cleave and dismantle, or at least dismantle so far, and them being so unique and explicitly unique to Yuji, now hard confirmed by his bloodline confirmation. It's gotta mean something. It's gotta mean something. I mean, maybe you could argue technically it is referenced, but then again, let me look up Esso and Kechizu. I'm pretty sure Esso didn't have something like that. Let me check Kechizu. JJK, did he have claws? Maybe it's a callback to him? Oh, okay, so he had claws. So at least the claw aspect, if you go with the common idea that Yuji got blood manipulation by consuming the rest of his siblings, and similar way to how Sukuna consumed his sibling for power, then those could be a callback to the other death paintings, and that could simply be the application of that. The extra weird arm stuff doesn't necessarily get explained because Choso nor Esso nor Kechizu had that, but still, Kechizu at least did have claws. So if the other DPWs did end up having like claw-like traits or more animalistic traits, that could be explained there. Why they are immune to cleave and dismantle in terms of talking about the arms, I guess you could also chalk that up to Yuji being a user of Shrine. Now, there is another big question opened up by Yuji getting access to Shrine, obviously. Did he have this already, or did he legit just unlock it? I want to say he legit just unlocked it because of, one, his lack of ability to use it all too fluidly this chapter, and two, why would he have not used it before? Like, for close range, mid-range, long range, close contact, like, why would he have not used it before? There's no reason for him to. So I think he does unlock it this chapter. That's another debate I've been seeing popping around the community. Once again, this chapter is very much action-focused. Don't get me wrong. This chapter is heavy, heavy action, ban, bar, punch, kick, all that. But there's so many questions raised here in this chapter, which is fantastic. I think that's the best way you can write a chapter. Not just, well, mostly for an action manga, obviously. But that's how you do it. You want to make a real nice, juicy, song, scrumdiddlyumptious chapter, have a lot of stuff be explained, give a lot of new stuff, have some... And technically, you know what the funny thing is, though? Technically, there isn't actually much plot progression in this chapter. But do all this, do all that, do a little dancey dance, but at the same time, have that good balance of action. And we see Yuji lock in. And of course, naturally, Sukuna's like, now listen here, nephew. Don't make me run smoke with you. And I'll admit, once again, looking at Sukuna, since he knows it, looking at Sukuna's actions post his liberation of Yuji and creating liberated Yuji, and him knowing that this is his nephew, it now makes all of their interactions infinitely more hilarious. I don't know. I don't know. Something about evil unks. I love them. I love them in fiction. You know who I'm thinking of? Scar from Lion King? Evil unk? I love evil unk. They're fantastic. They're always usually hilarious and interesting characters. And we see Yuji and Sukuna square off here. Once again, in the original spoiler discussion, I chalked this up to a straight callback, a straight reference to Yuji versus Choso, another family feud. But where that was a battle of brothers, this is now a battle between uncle and nephew. With, once again, that same context where one knows their familial relation, and the other probably, while they've likely guessed at it, doesn't necessarily have that hard confirmation. And I think, ultimately, if this chapter shows one thing, it's that the information that Sukuna has is not necessarily irrelevant, but it doesn't actually end up too much in his favor, just based on how Yuji performs in this chapter. Once again, I'm heavy on this chapter, this moment, right here, right now. A lot of stuff that's so positive, so great, so clean, so simple, when you walk away. But sorry, the Kingdom Hearts will always sneak at me. But with that being the case, let's go a little bit too clean this chapter. But these two square off. And one thing I'll admit, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what I've been waiting for. My toes, they're curled. A proper 1v1 between Yuji and Sukuna has not happened since the start of the series, when Yuji first fell. Think about that. It has literally been over 200 chapters since we had a proper 1v1. Yuji has been consistently participating, and admittedly, he accidentally participates in it some more later in this chapter. But Yuji has been consistently participating in Jujutsu Kaisen. I guess you... No, actually, no, that's a lie. That's actually a verbatim lie. Because we see Meguna versus Yuji. So technically, this is another round of Meguna versus Yuji. So, like, never mind. I take that back. This isn't necessarily... But I still think it's neat. We're finally getting true form Sukuna versus Yuji. But with that being the case, they both immediately lunge in. And I do love how different yet similar their eyes have become. Sukuna's eyes are still that narrow, focused, concentrated. Look at that. Look at the predatory nature behind them. He's still focused. He's still locked in. But Yuji's eyes still have that characteristic wideness of them. That, like, almost euphoric feeling. If you remember how Gojo's eyes were when he first awakened, they were always... like, that man was off one. And Yuji, at least of this entire chapter, also appears to be off one, which I think is nice. A lot of people were definitely drawing comparisons between Gojo's awakening and Yuji's awakening, and the differences behind them and everything and so forth that goes on with that. And I do like the little aspect points that Gege has drawn between all the awakenings in the series. Maki also had this very wide-eyed effect when she first awakened back in Sakonojima Colony. Yuta Kotsu, when he awakens, he's tweaking out that entire fight against Geto. So, like, his eyes are wide open. It seems like once a character awakens, their eyes always just go... like, they just snorted 15 lines of that good stuff. And Yuji definitely snorted a couple lines of that good stuff. One thing I will admit, though, and, you know, I'll go into it a bit more. Now, I'll go into it now because I know I'll forget. How much cursed energy does he have? Remember, Yuji has been fighting Sukuna the longest after Gojo. The longest. And it's not like he's just been doing nothing. Bro has yanked out from the depths gallons upon gallons of RCT, restoring his flesh in terms of his chest, his stomach, his face, his torso, all that. He's been spamming techniques at this point. From blood manipulation, you're going to see him spam some more techniques this chapter. You see him obviously using cursed energy reinforcement. His numbers in terms of raw stat, he has to be like number 4 at this point, right? Like only behind Sukuna, Gojo, and Yuta. Maybe behind Kenny, probably, but like, yeah, probably still behind Kenny, because Kenny did drop like a whole domain expansion, barrier list, and then a whole bunch of technique reversals. But still, Yuji's cursed energy amounts must be absolutely insane at this point. His reserves must be basically boundless, because notably, we've yet to run into that issue. The only issue we've run into Yuji so far with this battle is that he doesn't properly know how to use RCT, because this is the first time he's used it in an actual real stakes battle. But in terms of cursed energy amounts, despite how crazy his feats are, it seems like he kind of has a bottomless pool. I'm not going to say it's exactly an equivalency to the War Arc Kakashi thing. For all my Naruto fans out there, y'all remember in the War Arc where Kakashi was like, oh no! Well, no, pre-War Arc, Kakashi was like, Kamui! I used it one singular time, and now I must nap. And then War Kakashi was like, I will use Kamui, Lightning Blade, Lightning Clones, Lightning this, Lightning that, Lightning this, Lightning that, and I will do it I forget, there's like a whole graphic out there of how many jutsu Kakashi used. And admittedly, he does get some refreshes in the war, don't get me wrong, he has the Naruto refresh, and I think he has a refresh right before that. But like, in terms of Kakashi's runs, with no refreshes, his chakra pool just becomes infinite in the war, basically. And it seems like Yuji's is coming up like that similar, but I'll admit, one thing someone pointed out to me, Yuji didn't necessarily have any issues of running out of curse energy. Not beforehand. So maybe this is just something he's always had. And obviously, you know, he's experiencing a whole bunch of, like, negativity and hatred and malice and stuff like that. So he's probably consistently, like, producing curse energy. But the fact that it hasn't become a remote issue to him at all is a testament to how deep his reserves are. Characters like Yuta ran out relatively quickly. I know. When he was in Sendai, he had fought 6 other people. But he had low-diffed all those other people. Like, we see him load of Druve, and he doesn't have a single drop of blood. He's not sweating or anything when he's doing that. So Yuta, after encountering Kuro, who punctured him, like, once or twice, and then encountering Ryu, who charred him and then knocked him around, and then Uro, who charred him and knocked him around, he was out of curse energy. He was running out, Mr. Boundless over there. Meanwhile, Yuji has taken, like, 10 times the damage Yuta did in that instance, has been spamming an actual curse technique, RZT, and more in terms of reinforcement, and yet he's still pushing. Yuta he's looking a little bit weak in terms of his reserves now if Yuji's doing all this. But enough of the reserves. We see that Yuji and Sukuna begin to clash, and boom, a big meaty one straight to the. He hits him with wait for the 3 time, for the 3 time, for the 4 time, for the 5 time, for the 6 time, for the 7 time. No, one more time for the 8 time. He nails Sukuna with a black flash. And thank you for everyone who corrected me. Gosh, I don't know how I forgot that. How did I forget Nobara's black flash? Because to be fair, that's not the one I was referencing. There's one later on in the chapter I was like, oh, have we seen one like that before? And even then, that has come into contention a lot too. Once again, once the scans are cleaned up, we'll have a more clear discussion on a later one that we'll talk about. But Yuji lands a black flash on Sukuna. Now, we're going to hop into a certain black flash fever soon enough. But if I do have to have one continuous issue, but here's the thing, it's either an issue or it's not, depending on how valid you think Black Flash and his multiplier even are, and if Gege even remembers the multiplier. But no, we just address it in 256, we did. The thing about Yuji and his Black Flashes here, right? Sukuna should be done. Let me be completely honest with you. Remember, this is definitively, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the weakest we've seen the Sukuna. His heart is still missing. He has one working arm. He's still dealing with the after effects of the brain damage himself through Gojo. And while he has had 4 Black Flashes to re-up himself, this is his second Black Flash from Yuji Todori, who's very specifically been seizing his soul, on top of the previous soul seizing that he's already gone through from Yuji Todori. And he getting hit by Jacob's ladder too, which probably did some damage to his soul as well, based on how the whole exorcism property of that technique works. So Sukuna's been going through it. But this means one of 2 things. It either means A, that Yuji's just base hits are just basically doing like 0.001% or like 1 damage or like 1.5 damage, so they don't get multiplied that much. Or 2, Sukuna is just that bulky. Like realize how bulky Sukuna has to be to eat this many Black Flashes. And I'm not just talking like bulky on a physical level. He's getting hit by one of the strongest characters in the verse physically, literally only inferior to characters like Ryu himself and Gojo probably, and Yuji Todori. At this point, maybe, I can still definitely see the arguments for Maki and Toji considering Yuji's awakening and stuff like that. Well, at least pre-Yuji awakening. He's getting hit by all these Slobanakas, but I don't know. Sukuna, he may just be that bulky. He may just be that guy because he realistically should be folding. And, like, this is the first Black Flash Yuji hits him with. And one thing I do like, I like how we're going really deep back into the whole martial arts comparison. We do get some curse technique usage this chapter, but at least between Yuji and Sukuna, this has gone purely back to hands on hands for a little bit. And we see, as Yuji lands that first hit, this is where things get a little bit contentious. This is what I thought was a shoulder check Black Flash. I thought Yuji hit him with that, and then he got a critical hit on that impact point. And remember, these are some consecutive hits. So right now Yuji has 1, possibly 2 Black Flashes. However, questions have been brought up about this. Now, here's the thing. From my interpretation of this panel, it looks like the black sparks are centering around Yuji's arm, this impact point right here. But as was pointed out to me, notably, Sukuna's hand is in motion. And it's also hard to tell, unless they went shoulder to shoulder, bar to bar, or shoulder to bicep, it's pretty hard to tell where Yuji would have shoulder checked Sukuna here. Especially considering this little area right here is actually kind of vague. So, I'm not sure. I've seen some people reading this as a Sukuna Black Flash, and if so, that's fine. I don't really mind either way, but darn, man, this is crazy. We are burning through Black Flashes, and this, it does go back to an issue. As crazy, as clean, as smooth, as buttery, as scrumdiddlyumptious as all this is. You ever heard of... I made the comparison before, but for example, let's use me as an example. I love cinnamon rolls. I'm talking good quality cinnamon rolls. I'm not talking no low tier stuff. I'm talking cinnamon rolls. You put nice solid amounts of cinnamon, is nice and round. You put the nice good proper glaze on top of it. Especially you give me a cup of milk with that. Beautiful. I love me a good cinnamon roll. I'm addicted. It's like I be scratching and itching for it. I'm a fiend for it. But okay, I can't lie. I would eat 2 cinnamon rolls back to back. In fact, I have. You know, if I haven't eaten all day, I'd even have 3 back to back to back to back. If that's my only meal of the day, shoot, I'm a cinnamon. I'm a roll until I'm cinnamon. I'll be built like cinnamon roll after eating 3 of them. But still, I'm gonna do it. But at the same time, once I get to 4, I was kind of pushing it. Especially if they're like good sized cinnamon rolls, maybe like tiny ones, little baby like mini cinnamon rolls. Obviously, you can pop them things like infinitely. But like an actual decent sized cinnamon roll, you're gonna be 4, and then 5, and then 6. Here's the thing: I still like cinnamon rolls. In fact, even after eating 6 in a row, hypothetically, I'm quite the big back individual, but I don't think I've ever eaten 6 full-size cinnamon rolls back to back to back. But with that being the case, they're gonna start tasting not as good. Like, I feel like this has happened to almost everyone before, where you eat something you like, and you eat more for the taste of it, not because you're actually hungry. They eat more and more and more, and then your body just tells you, ultimately, it ain't hitting the same as it was in that first one. It's like when you first eat something after being hungry for a while. You feel it like slide in, hit your gut, and you're like, whew, that feeling of fullness, and goes crazy. Or if you're parched, and you take that first hit of water, that first sip after a long day, because you've been busy for one reason or another, you get that first sip of water, whatever you like to drink, and then you feel that nice, refreshing feeling. You feel your body come back alive. It's draining all the moisture out of the water immediately. That's the thing with the amount of Black Flashes. They simultaneously seem to be doing everything and nothing. That's the crazy thing. Whether you think this is a Sukuna Black Flash or a Yuji Black Flash, neither of them really take damage. Heck, even this first one that Yuji hits Sukuna with, it, crazily enough, is less effective than the belly punch that No Domain Yuta hit Sukuna with before Sukuna was massively nerfed. But this is a Black Flash, though. This should have sent Sukuna flying. Like, here's the thing. It's a matter of comparison, right? Admittedly, comparison is the thief of joy. I do 100% believe that. You shouldn't necessarily be comparing things. But when you're working with something like this system mechanic, I'm not gonna say you should go insane, but we see in this very chapter, Gei's willing to go a bit more insane with it. These Black Flashes should definitely be doing more. They should be like blowing each other away with how much force should be behind these. I get both of them are heavily fatigued. That's likely a very big aspect of this, and it's why the Black Flashes don't seem to be doing as crazy numbers, as crazy recoil, and like doing the exact insane things we've seen them do before. But like, even still, with how powerful these characters have been. As they've proven, they both have a whole lot left in the tank. I feel like the tank ain't really hitting like it should. Like, every single Black Flash should have a heavy level of impact. I should see, like, off this one, for example, I think Sukuna should have been launched away, and then Yuji has to charge in right after him to go for a shoulder check Black Flash. Or as Sukuna's flipping backwards and tumbling from the impact of this backhand Black Flash, Yuji forces Sukuna to turn in, and then if you think Sukuna lands the second one, this one right here, and this is in the Yuji Black Flash, Sukuna, as he's tumbling through the air, he lands on the air, and then boom, and then knocks Yuji back. Keep the impact, because once you start hitting Black Flash into Black Flash into Black Flash, they start to have less impact. Notably, I've seen people having issue with the fact that these Black Flashes aren't doing the same thing to Sukuna that Gojo's Black Flash did, but to be fair, I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think Yuji, in terms of like stats, actually shifts too much higher from this chapter. Once again, these are all of his base hits being multiplied by 2.5, and they're barely doing anything. They do basically no knockback damage. They do very little clear visible damage to Sukuna, at least these first couple. We'll get to the ones that do tend to do a bit more later on. But with that being the case, I do think it's okay that Yuji's Black Flashes aren't doing the same things that Gojo's did to Sukuna, because they're different tiers of power. Yuji should not surpass Gojo, in my opinion. At least not this quickly. And I don't think Sukuna should be surpassed either. I think he should just be worn down and worn to attrition, which is why I am fine with this exchange going as it is. But I didn't want to tackle the Black Flash debate, because I've been seeing a lot of back and forth. A lot of people are fine with it, and hey, on most levels I'm fine with it. But I do think the importance of Black Flash and the weight it's supposed to have in terms of its impact and its recoil and the scale and power it's supposed to have, it's not necessarily hitting the same in this chapter, because of how little it's telling on Sukuna and how little it's telling on Yuji. Like, I'm thinking of almost every other major Black Flash in the series. I'm thinking of the first Black Flash against Hanami. Actually, no, Hanami didn't stagger too much either, so maybe Black Flash is always kind of whack. But I'm thinking of the big one against Mahito. It not just knocks Mahito out of his true form, but it sends him flying, ragdolling. Toto's big, bombastic, beautiful, bootylicious Black Flash sends Mahito flying, even if it does absolutely no damage. I'm thinking of Gojo's Black Flash. Admittedly, didn't send Sukuna flying, but to be fair, Sukuna was being propelled forward by a red and drawn into Gojo's fist by the blue. So it makes sense that Sukuna doesn't go flying, but at least he gets knocked out. Or he whites out and then falls into Maharaga. But these Black Flashes, they aren't really hitting the same, because Gege's not giving them enough recoil. And not that kind of recoil. You sick for... I can't lie. Obviously, my mind went there too. But with that being the case, we see the battle continue. And while there is very little recoil, I do actually... now I'm seeing the vision. I'm seeing the vision more. Once again, I was a bit iffy on this being a Sukuna Black Flash, but I do think this one actually is a Sukuna Black Flash. Yuji went to shoulder check him, but then Sukuna knocked him. Mainly because Yuji gets sent flying back here. A bit. I'm not sure. This is a slightly weird interaction, but... these two, they're the remnants of the Sparks of Black. Then Yuji seems to get knocked through this barrier. So either A, this was a Black Flash that sent Yuji backwards, and they just both look at each other like absolute alpha sigma males or whatever, and then Yuji gets sent flying, or there's an interaction that happens off-panel, and Sukuna just blitzes Yuji, which is entirely possible too. But, once again, like I said, Yuji is a locked shrine, and we see him go to use it. And, I'll admit, it is a lot less inherently epic because of the little, like, scissor signs, but that's still, it's so adorable. I don't know, something about seeing Yuji be like, here, I'm doing arts and crafts with Uncle Sukuna, bah, and do that to use shrine. It's really, really neat. And one thing I do like, I love how instinctive it is already. Yuji, once again, it goes into the idea, did he already have this and he was saving it for the right moment, or did he just learn it right now? He doesn't even hesitate. He's had so much experience with it when it was used in his own body and used on his own body that on sheer instinct, he just slaps the pillar, immediately activates it, and breaks it down with cleave. Once again, no real delay, no more input. That natural affinity for Jujutsu that Yuji's been implied to have for the longest time is showing very, very well here. And we see him break the pillar down and then use it in a similar way to how Sukuna, well, actually, ironically enough, it's a more successful version of what Maki was going for when she sliced apart the pillars with Soul Split and sent them towards Sukuna. And we see Yuji's smokescreen kind of actually works because he knocks them towards Sukuna and then manages to get a good solid gripper right on Sukuna's ankle. And you see he's going to tear Sukuna's leg off. And once again, I do wonder, dog, how y'all expect Megami to recover from this? what is the plan and what's the mean metrics? However, you can definitely tell that Yuji's new with Cleave and Dismantle and Shrine, at least in my opinion, because notably, while the scissors do appear, there is that innate delay. They don't immediately start tearing through Sukuna, because Sukuna not only notices Yuji grabs him, you can see him notice Yuji after Yuji broke through the smoke screen, but also Yuji looks at him, reels a punch back, all while Sukuna's leg is still attached, but before Yuji can do anything with his cleave, Sukuna aims, points, and launches dismantles towards Yuji. So there is a delay. He hasn't woken up and become a perfect shrine master. I've seen a lot of people get on Yuji's case like, oh, he's seeming too Himothy now. He's gone from side character to main character plus. He's automatically using a technique to do well. He's not really. He's still learning, and you can tell there's still a lot of input delay on him. There's a lot of lag between his attack activation and the actual attack. Essentially, he's kind of playing... Think of it like... I always go back to fighting games. But I see the input lag for Yuji as kind of like when you play a heavy in Super Smash Bros. Like, there's always... You just have worse frame data. So while Sukuna's attacks, his cleaves, his dismantles can come out basically on like frame 1 or 2 depending on how he uses them. I'd say cleave is like a frame 1. Actually no, because there's some delay with Sukuna's cleaves too, but I don't know, the delay seems a bit more active. So I'd say while Sukuna's cleave is like a 5 frame move, and then his dismantles are like a 6 frame move from the aiming and the direction, and we've seen people be able to react to them, I'd say Yuji is like a 9 and 10 framer. Not horribly slow. It's good enough that he can use it when he needs to, but whenever using it on someone as perceptive and as powerful and who's familiar with the technique like Sukuna, oh man, he looks, oh, he's so ugly. Oh, why? Oh, I just looked at it. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, I don't, no, we're gonna scroll. Ooh, yeah, he's looking funky this chapter. This is fine. What is the difference? Hold on, what is the, I'm trying to quantify. Why did this one looks so weird to me for some reason? Is it because of the, it reminds me of this. I forget what this part of the hand is called, but like this area right here, something about that, the way his arms are splayed out here, it looks a little bit like that. I don't know, something about this image does not sit right with me. But with it being the case, we see him launch these dismantles at Yuji, but Yuji casually just face tanks them and proceeds to, here's the thing, I'm not sure exactly what happens here. I'm not sure if he's still gripped on to Sukuna, and then he uses his left to land another black flash into Sukuna's very side piece right here, or if he used air stepping. I've seen a lot of people start to compare Yuji to the Heavenly Instruction users here, and hey, it's not entirely impossible. Sukuna, despite being a curse king, obviously, he's also shown the ability to use Heavenly Restriction-esque abilities like the air hopping and stuff like that. So if Yuji's starting to use that, I think it makes sense. And once again, he's from that bloodline. But he lands another black flash. And notably, Sukuna does get knocked away here though, but look at how he immediately recovers. There's very little motion put behind it. You see what I mean with the weight of the black flashes? He's knocked back, he's staggered in midair, but he's not blown away. Once again, the impact isn't hitting all too crazy. And then, once again, it's mostly fine. I think Sukuna being bulky enough to resist all the knockback of these black flashes is okay. But I'm just thinking of how he was genuinely sent flying through the buildings by Maki and her hits, or was getting thrown around by Yuta, or knocked up into the air, thrown around by Rika, knocked up into the air by Yuta. We know Gege's willing to show the amount of recoil that can come from certain attacks and attack types. It seems like for these black flashes for Yuji, even when he's not necessarily holding on to anything of Sukuna, you can see his fist is balled up here and he punches Sukuna here. So he's not like gripping onto him unless he like has his legs wrapped around his waist. But don't envision that. But with it being the case, I don't know, the recoil just ain't there. It just ain't moving like it should. It should be moving like the ocean. Let me stop. But we do cut away. We cut back to a earlier conversation that Gojo was having with Ino. If you remember the panel from 222, I do believe, where Ino's coming in, he's taking that thing off, and he's like, hey, yo, bro, I'm really trying to cop the ratio cleaver right now, real quick. I could understand it's supposed to be in better hands, and I was really in my place and all that, but, that was my boy, that was my dog, and I'm trying to represent for my dog, what I'm talking about, and obviously, he goes to Gojo, Shoko, and Ichichi, because they were the ones who knew Nanami the best. They grew up with him. He was their classmate. And they're all just like, dude, One, Gojo's not going to use it. You could argue he very easily should. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a critical hit, critical hit blue or critical hit purple? No, I'm kidding. But maybe not critical hit red. But critical crimson. I don't know. But with that being the case, Gojo's like, do it. Shogo's like, I'm not a fighter. I will not be throwing hands. Go ahead and do it. And Ichiji's like, I'm also not a fighter. I will not be throwing hands. Go ahead and do it. So they all give Ino his blessing, and Gojo even says, like, dude, you're the one not to be trusted the most, man. If anyone, I think he'd want you to use it, which is nice. Once again, shoutouts to Ino, man. I kind of gave the same praise to Kusakabe, but dog, for a dude who definitely did not need to show up, a guy who did not need to clock in for work today. He didn't just clock in, he clocked in and showed out. I will give mad props to him, as we'll see, because he starts to use his ultimate, the one that was never seen before, the one in the data books that was hinted to be unstoppable, unmateable, unstoppable like Zodia. He pulls out my goat, Ryu Ishigo. No, he just pulls out Ryu. But Ryu is a gigantic dragon that honestly looks very similar to the Rainbow Dragon. It's just it has black Scalera instead of the white Scalera. But he summons the dragon that pins Sukuna down to the wall. Once again, Sukuna takes more recoil from this random dragon that Ino fires while Ino's likely super duper fatigued. Then he takes from Yuji's black flashes. You see, I'm sorry, I don't know. It's bouncing in my mind. I still think it's cool that Yuji's hitting all these black flashes. I still think that's wonderful, and I still think the chapter's peak. But in terms of like the recoil and the impact, Gege shows that they're willing to do it. This isn't like a thing that they're just unwilling to do. We see it in this very chapter when there needs to be recoil, when there needs to be force, when there needs to be power shown on what kind of weight these impacts have behind them. They're willing to do it. I see it as a similar issue to what happens sometimes in monster movies, or like kaiju films in particular, where sometimes it'll be portrayed where the kaiju don't really have weight, like the scale of these creatures that tower over skyscrapers. When they move, even on screen, they should have a certain heft to them, a certain weight, a certain girth, if you will, to their movements. And that's kind of the same thing here, where these black flashes are supposed to have a certain weight, a certain heft, a certain girth behind their actions. But they just tend not to. But in this case, Ryu comes out, and while Ryu is unbeatable for everybody else, so is Satoru Gojo. So immediately Sukuna's like, my output's low, but it ain't that low, bucko. And he immediately cleans Ryu into pieces. Like, once again, this is Sukuna. Admittedly, after 4, possibly 5, if you interpret that one, and I'm now leaning into it as that being a Sukuna Black Flash. After 5 Black Flashes, you can definitely argue that maybe his output's starting to return to a decent level, and even Maki notes towards the end of the last chapter that the Black Flashes have started to restore his output, so maybe that's it. But I don't know, man. After getting hit by 2 Yuji Black Flashes, or no, 3 at this point, you would think that his output would be delayed enough that it doesn't just completely one-shot Ryu the Dragon, but I guess it's like saying chai tea. Like, chai means tea, Ryu means dragon. But, wow, I don't know, bro. For unstoppable like Zodia, it sure looks very stoppable. But, notably, we see Ino, he was ready to go. He was willing to sacrifice it. And he goes to swing with the ratio cleaver. And I'll admit, this is straight disrespectful. I get why Sukuna does it to a degree, because, like, he only has one arm, why waste it on Ino? But still, dog, you know how disrespectful it is to step on somebody's blade? I get it, it's blunt, but, like, it's already disrespectful enough to, like, swing a sword and someone just, really, bro? That's all you got? Like, if, like, obviously, everyone knows that certain scene from Bleach, where someone stops the sword with their bare hands. But, like, to actively step on somebody's blade is crazy. Crazy disrespectful. That is the next level of disrespect. Because here's the thing, right? I know the legs are stronger than the upper body. Like, a kick will always hurt infinitely more than a punch. Not infinitely, but there's a drastic skill difference because of the different level of musculature and stuff like that. But in terms of disrespect, anything having to do with your feet. That sounds so strange. But anything that has to do with your feet is infinitely more disrespectful than what you can do with your hands. I don't know, something about it. It's probably just because you walk on them, and they're like consistently associated with the ground and stuff like that. You don't walk on your hands unless you can. And for all my physically fit people out there who can do that, credit to y'all. Your boy could never. But, darn, the disrespect is crazy. And notably, it doesn't even seem like Ino lands the ratio here, because he wasn't expecting Sukuna to block it with his foot. But, we see that Ino's like, really, bro? You gonna focus on me? I'll give you this. You were smart to leave that hand open. but you weren't ready for this one. And Yuji just immediately comes in, no hesitation, and beams Sukuna once again. And I'll admit, oh, here we go. See, this is one of the few that does have impact. Genuine impact. Because look at that. This impact, despite Sukuna blocking it, sends him through the building. Good stuff. See, it's there. It's just not all of them have it. Or maybe this is my poor interpretation of the chapter. Once it comes out more, I'll be able to see more of the recoil and impact. But Sukuna's generally realized, like, this is getting bad. Like, he's realizing that no matter what now, his output, his control, everything is faltering. And since Yuji keeps disrupting him, he can't even begin to properly use RCT to somewhat combat anything. It's likely that even if Sukuna were to, like, subvert all reinforcement everywhere else and just hard concentrate all of his energy regenerating one arm, his CT output and his general curse energy output is so trash right now that he can't even do it. But one thing I'll give credit to Ino for, he cooked. He definitively cooked. Like, he was doing good, and he's still not done yet. But as Sukuna gets launched through that building, sent down a whole nother level, and Ino lays out on the ground, thinking like, darn, Ryu really is beatable. Man, technique is kind of whack. We see that Sukuna's like, no, we ain't doing this, bucko. And immediately uses cleave on the very ground to get that advantage over Yuji. This seems to be like a very consistent Sukuna thing, a Sukuna tactic, that he almost always reverts back to. But like, especially against people who physically match him, he loves destroying the floor. Like, I'm thinking of when he did it against Maki and Yuji in 215. He does it against Maki in 256, and he does it here again. He's always... He never likes other people having foothold. But I guess it does make sense. He's able to air hop, but he isn't sure about Yuji's ability to just yet. And we see Yuji, he does chase after Sukuna, but is forced into a mid-air confrontation. But, once again, I'm not sure how much this can be chalked up to Sukuna holding back, or if he's legit just this weak right now. While he is able to devour multiple black flashes with very little issue, he does get entirely read here by Yuji in mid-air, and Yuji clamps down on his arm and holds him still. So Sukuna, I don't know, buddy. It's looking a little bit rough here. It's looking a little bit tight, if you will. And we see that Yuji, once again, here's the weird thing, though. I don't think this isn't a Black Flash, but this punch from Yuji knocks Sukuna back and sends him flying. But the earlier ones, I don't know. You see, it's inconsistent. It's the inconsistency with the JJK and how it portrays the impact of certain hits. And I do get, like, on a paneling level, it's fine to have some hits not do as much as they realistically should, because, like, that would just be more difficult to draw. Trust me. As a person, is it in you? It's not in you. Is there at least a page in you? Please. As a person who's, like, working on a little something somewhat similar to a manga-esque format thingamajig for TikTok, I definitely understand the struggles of it. But I don't know, Gege, that inconsistency kind of goes crazy. However, we see that Sukuna, he's really getting desperate now. He's really trying to ward Yuji off. And he uses even a new type of hand sign here that I don't think we've seen before to really put the pressure on Yuji. And Yuji's like, did you not remember, Unk? If it's pain alone, I will not stop moving forward. And Yuji grips that fist up. He gets the Giga Grippers on and beams Sukuna one more time. But notably, once again, but here's the thing. Sukuna's close to the wall, and you can see the impact there. So see, I don't know. Maybe it's 50-50 on this chapter. Some of the black flashes and some of the hits do have the recoil and the impact that's necessary to their caliber. And this one seems similar in scale to the first black flash that Yuji landed on Sukuna. So I will give it credit. But Sukuna uses the fact that there was a wall there to somewhat slow his retreat. To, like, I know that had to hurt. Like I don't know. Maybe y'all don't remember. I remember when I was younger. I come from a large family. Like, in the sense, literally, as in they were big and tall, and it's also just actually large in terms of the number of people. But I specifically remember there was one cousin who their greeting to me was always just, and, like, my hand is massive relative to the rest of my body, so I can, like, mostly cover my face, but no, like, their hand straight, like, consumed my entire facial structure. That's exactly what happens here. I'm not sure if that has ever happened to you before, but just for example, grab your own face, but do it gently. Then imagine that violently. It is not fun. And we see that that isn't just it. Sukuna's like, you are going to eat these cleaves little boy, you're gonna be a good nephew and devour your Lunchables. And he gives Yuji the Lunchables to munch on. But Yuji's like, that was a little bit weak, Unk. Is that all you got for real? For real? And reels back and bams Sukuna with another one. This one, once again, I like the scale of it. I love the level of flash here. But darn, bro, Sukuna, his grip, like the grippers that Sukuna's got on are crazy, bro. The knockback ain't really doing that. But we see that ultimately Sukuna's finally, like, he's legit starting to tweak out. Because he's like, okay, now this is getting way too deep. This is getting way too serious. I should not be struggling this much. And we see that before he can even begin to properly tweak out, Ino, you want to talk about one of the most clutch players in the game right now. Ino, I forget his last name, comes out and is like, you know, they always sleep on me. They always forget I'm here. But don't worry, King Curse. I'll give you a nice little reminder. And he donks Sukuna straight in the face with the ratio cleaver. Sukuna gets knocked off balance, which is crazy, once again. But then again, I think what happens here... No, he is generally knocked off balance, so he's leaning forward here. But Yuji, he keeps going back to that Jajan Ken stance. He's like, I watched Hunter x Hunter for a reason, Bucko. Let me show you my nen. And he proceeds to double. I think maybe he doesn't just hit this. Maybe it's like this or something like that. Focuses all his cursed energy and double. Oh, wait, no. He doesn't double fist. It is just an uppercut. So, yeah, he just does the regular Jajan Ken strike. But he gives Sukuna the meanest back shot this side of the Mississippi. Look at Sukuna. He was not ready to take it raw from his nephew. It's late into the video. I hope not too many people heard what I just said. But with that being the case, even with my critiques and my questions and everything, this chapter is some gas. Like I said, my only issue is that one weird image of Sukuna that made me uncomfortable. And also just the lack of real, like the inconsistency on impacts. I think that is important in terms of selling the scale and power of certain things. And I do think the oversaturation of Black Flash is kind of taking away from its impacts. The fact that we've gone this far and we haven't seen like a single glimpse of Megami or anything like that. Nothing, I don't know. Once again, this will probably change a bit once translations come out. We get to see why we aren't seeing Megami and stuff like that. But still, beautiful chapter. Beautiful chapter. Top of the line, quality stuff. However, one thing I will admit, I don't think this necessarily changes Yuji's general position in the verse all too much because of how weak this Sukuna is, for one. And for two, things are going too well. Things are going too well. You know what I'm saying? Urume versus Akari hasn't even wrapped up yet. Something's going to happen. A lot of people are saying, Sukuna's cooked, he's done, he's ready, it's all done, it's all over. I'm getting hefty 235 vibes here. Something's going to happen. Maybe not in next chapter, because we don't have a break next week. But I don't know. Something's suspicious. Something smells fishy, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just the paranoia. Maybe Giga's truly gotten to me and is now just having me constantly checking over my shoulder like, what's really going to happen? But I don't know. Something is suspicious. Something crazy going to go down. But still, an insanely W chapter. I can't wait for the translations to come out. This has given me like ideas for like 3 different theory videos already, just on the confirmation from earlier in the chapter. There's so much more to discuss. But regardless, if you guys made it all the way to the end of this spoiler discussion, please do me a favor and leave. Leave Vanta Black. Vanta, Vanta Black, in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. You get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reaction to this very chapter, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, if you want to make a one-time donation or a one-time video request, the link to my Ko-Fi is in the description down below. Now, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with a Pencil, writing off. I would like to give a thank you to our $3 members: So Connor Plays, Greyhound, Atkins Void, Astro, Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, G Prosper, and Paris Arnold. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Steron, Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, and Igneo. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our $7 members: Autumn Mornings Lazo and Sick Addiction. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our $10 member, Robbie Uchiha. And I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our $10 patrons: Panda Goat, Joaquin, and Idemokami. And I'd like to give a gargantuan scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our $25 patron, Chinadoll09. And I'd like to give another gargantuan gargantuan I have no idea what that word. Thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.